first project, which is Confidential Client Office TI. This was, the lighting design firm here is Stantec. Lauren McLeod and her team came up with a beautiful job. This is in Chicago. So let's take a look at some of these images here. This client, who was confidential, was one of the first tenants to set up space in this historic Chicago post office building. Huge floor plates, giant ventilation ducts, and a maze of pipework provided extra design challenges. The goal was to have most of the interior spaces feel as vibrant as the daylit perimeter areas. Collaboration with the maintenance team led to minimizing luminaire types. The design was inspired by the city of Chicago and local neighborhoods, based around the idea of a city plan. The Forum is the largest community gathering area, and roads leading to and from the core connect to community spaces and neighborhoods. Informal gathering areas relieve open office blocks and take design themes from actual Chicago neighborhoods. Custom-looking LED starburst fixtures in 3 different sizes and mounting heights use standard products. Each neighborhood has its own zone of control. Lighting controls are programmed to adjust light levels according to available daylight and also time of day. Congratulations to Stantec. Accepting the award is Nishat Tasman.
I would keep it short and sweet. Thank you, everyone. On behalf of Stantec and Lauren McLeod, we feel really honored to receive this award. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to have Lauren McLeod from Stantec, who is going to discuss her project, Confidential Client Office in the Chicago area right now. We're also joined by one of our judges, Naomi Miller. So maybe just talk a little bit of how you reinforce this neighborhood concept with your lighting design.
So in that plan view, you may have noticed that I highlighted in yellow and red. And the red are what we call the major roadways that connect the public vertical exchange elevator banks for the entrance, for staff entrance and for the public entrance. There's only one public entrance to the space, and that's where we have our one of our modified pendants. But back to the roads, the major roads all come to the city center, which is the Forum. And then again, they reach out to the major connection points. And in doing that, they also intersect the neighborhoods and help define those. Within the neighborhoods are this city grid of open offices that are broken up with these little pods of the community gathering areas. And the difference is between the two areas with the neighborhood, it is a grid. It's just the linear lighting, just rows of it, very what's the word I want? Very uniform. But when we get to the breakout spaces, all of these more informal gathering spaces, everything kind of relaxes. Everything's a little looser, more dynamic. The grids go away. And everything becomes just a little bit more random and relaxed. So that's really how we define those different neighborhoods. You also saw in a number of those images the wall murals, which are just stunning. And they really talk about the different neighborhoods in Chicago, like Pilsen or Bronzeville. And we really, really played those up. We threw a lot of light at them. And in turn, we tried to downplay some of the other elements. So the walls really became the stars and the billboards for the neighborhoods.
How instrumental was your client in directing some of these efforts, like with the murals, for example?
Very instrumental. Stantec came up with the original concept. The client loved it. And so this client has their own internal design team as well. They have architects, engineers, and lighting engineers on board to work with us on everything. So they were very involved. So this was an all Stantec team, architecture, interior design, MEP, lighting design and acoustics, and ICT. So and just working, we worked, the lighting design team worked hand in hand with the architects and the interior designers to make sure this was going to work. It's just such a massive floor plate. I've actually never worked on a floor plate this big before. And to have that hold some sort of a feel of brightness and lightness and energy in the most interior spaces was our biggest challenge. And that which we sought to conquer. And it took the architects, the interior designers, and of course the lighting team to come together and work in unison to make that happen.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned your challenge was to make interior spaces feel as vibrant as the perimeter spaces that had a ton of daylight. And any best practices that you could share? You know, any tips or things that worked, things that perhaps didn't work in order to create that visual balance?
Yeah. So I come from a hospitality background. My first employer and mentor and very good friend was Leslie Wheel. I don't know how many of you are of that generation,
Sure,
but I see you shaking your heads.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So I was with Leslie. She trained me, just put it that way. So I was with her for 20 years. And so we came from primarily hospitality. And the one thing that, you know, just first and foremost for hospitality lighting, and I think this applies to just about anything, you put the light where you need it, and then you just let it fall off in the in-between spaces. You know, that's what gives you a little bit more drama, a little bit more life and texture in a space. And that applies to, an office setting as well as it does to, you know, a hotel or what have you. So we were very specific about where we located the light fixtures, and, you know, circulation paths that weren't on a major roadway. We just left them alone. And those are just illuminated with spill light from lighting the desktops. The other thing that we did was we worked with our client. They had very specific requirements for light levels in all spaces. And some we thought were a little bit high. And we reference IES best practices and talked to them about maybe reducing those a little bit. And they agreed. They also agreed that, for instance, in a conference room, where they initially wanted 50-foot candles, we could reduce that a little bit And it didn't have to be from corner of the room to corner of the room. So again, we put the light on the table where it was needed, on the whiteboard where it was needed. And then we were allowed to let the circulation areas around those spaces fall off. So that's one of the ways we were able to keep the load so low. It was just being very specific in everything that we did.
Yeah, good, great. You know, you mentioned that the lighting budget for this project was pretty modest, and yet, you know, you came up with some really cool custom looking luminaires. You know, how did that process work? Like that
Right.
starburst type look, which was very, very cool.
So custom really wasn't in their vocabulary. But we still wanted to make a really big statement. So really, we just took standard product. You know, look at the forum and the linear fixtures. We created a starburst out of absolutely standard fixtures. So there's 3 different sizes of fixtures. You know, there's the larger ones and right down to really, really thin ones. And those are mounted at different heights, and also they have different tilts. And then the center is just a regular old round pendant.
Which brand of fixtures?
Ring.
Which brand of fixtures did you use?
Okay, so 2 of the manufacturers that we were selected for doing just all of the linear lighting on this were Focal Point and Axis.
Okay.
And quite honestly, I think it was a bit of both. I'm trying to remember now, you know, what was actually submitted and approved in the end. But I think it was actually turned out to be a bit of both, but they were the primary suppliers. We used for the cylinder downlights because we were using the cylinder downlights to provide good light levels without drawing too much attention to them. We use the hyperbolic trim, which disappears beautifully in the ceiling. You pretty much have to get underneath those fixtures to actually see the light source. So that way we were able to keep everything, you know, in the gathering areas where we had these other ideas going with decorative fixtures and so forth. Those were again allowed to be the stars, while the cylinders provided the light levels that we needed. And keep that ceiling noise quiet again.
One of the things that is often overlooked is that using a smaller number of fixture types, but arranging them in different configurations the way you did, also reduces the maintenance hassles because you're using the same parts over and over and over again. So I'm sure the maintenance staff is going to appreciate that down the road.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And early on in the design process, we did have maintenance people involved in all of this. So just keeping everything as simple, pared down as possible, and then really going for bigger effects where it really made a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got to tell you, that speaks a lot to collaboration, which is one of the things we're looking for. And to have maintenance people involved in the design is brilliant.
Right.
And we rarely hear about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Very smart move.
Yeah.
Well, I was just so impressed with how you took a simple vocabulary of fixtures and made very different kinds of spaces with them. And it looks like a space I would love to be working in too.
Thank you, Naomi. Thank you.
I was just going to add that, you know, when you look at a lighting design and say, I would like to be in that space. You know, that's a real tribute to your effort. So, and congratulations on a fine job.
And are any of these controllable?
Everything, yes, everything is dimmable. Everything is dimmable. Each fixture type is its own zone of control. So you just take the starburst in the forum. Each different size of fixture is on its own zone of control.
Well, thank you very much and congratulations again. And we'll look forward to seeing more submissions for you in the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you all very much. This has been an honor. Thank you.